think it should be fine for people to protest. When it goes over the line into hate, that's when it becomes a serious problem. But I'll just go back to the previous point. There were protests and hate crimes which started before anybody responded anything. And that's our society problem, not that people are protesting what Israel is or isn't doing. Feeling targeted for something which you're not responsible for and have no way to change anything which is going on. It's just simply unfair. Yeah. Okay, so I'm Joel Friedman, Director of Public Affairs at the Pinter Trust. At the Pinter Trust, we provide a credible voice for the Haredi community, which is the fastest growing section of the Jewish community in the United Kingdom.
What has the last week been like for you?
So as you can imagine, it's extremely worrying and hard for everybody in the community and beyond. I would say most people, it's a question of, it's a degree of separation, really. Most people know either someone who's directly affected or somebody who knows somebody. We're really a very small family when it comes to these things. When we, whether we have someone personally affected or missing, or family and friends in Israel who have gone through a very, very hard time, and the shock and the horror of what's happened, the terrorist attacks which happened over the past week has really shaken up not just our community, but specifically our community, and it puts us on the front line, if you like. In this country, because we are very visibly Jewish. Unfortunately, there are people who think they could have it out with us, whether it's verbal abuse, which is bad enough, but and heaven forbid any other violence. And we try very hard to keep everybody calm and promote peace as opposed to promoting hatred.
So the Community Security Trust, they reported that at the point that this was done, there was 89 anti-Jewish hate incidents, and that's more than quadrupled since prior to the Hamas attack. Do you feel unsafe in the UK right now? Do members of your community feel unsafe?
I mean, to hear about those rising attacks, yeah. I mean, from anecdotal discussions I've had with others, it definitely tells me that makes sense. We also know that there's always an underreporting problem in the community. Not everybody reports. So if those are the numbers, we can be assured that they're actually higher. I personally live in the Canvey Island community in Essex. Luckily, it's a very quiet corner, but there has been a very small number of verbal abuse, which is related to this ongoing situation. So we can definitely see that. Just today, this morning in Stanfordhill, there were 2 schools which were graffitied with, vandalized with red paint. Again, I know the police are dealing with it, but from the school's perspective, is definitely related to what's going on. And what does that make the children, when they arrived at 8 o'clock this morning to school, they feel directly on the front line affected by something which shouldn't necessarily affect them in this way, and they shouldn't feel under threat in this country, which is extremely sad to see. On the other hand, on the flip side, I would say we've also seen a huge outpour of solidarity and support, not just from the authorities, which is extremely important. We've seen that from local government, we've seen that from the local police, and from local councils to some extent, depending on which borough you happen to live in, but also from, and maybe most importantly, from local friends and local neighbours. I know in Canvey Island we received bunches of flowers at the community centre, and numerous messages and emails from people who are connected in various different ways to the community, just to say we're here with you, and if we need any support, just to this, as I say, there's plenty of hate going around, and just to show a little bit of a kindness goes a long way in these trying times.
Do you mind going into a bit more detail about these examples of what people are perhaps saying, or you talked about the schools?
I was just speaking to a mother Friday. She went into central London from Stanfordhill, and the back windows of her car were down to get some fresh air, and her son in the back was saying, "Please roll the windows up. I don't want to be seen." And it really hit me very hard that we live in this is central London, and people who are visibly Jewish are scared or have to think twice about walking the streets in daylight. I myself I will think twice if I want to travel alone on the underground in the middle of the day in London. and I've asked a few of my friends how they feel, and they feel exactly the same. It shouldn't be the case. I know the authorities, and you mentioned them before, whether it's the local police or the community security trust, they do encourage everybody to try and lead a normal life, and that's important. And everybody, I think, wants that, whether it's schooling or work or just regular life. But the fact is, people are apprehensive in that way. People feel more safe within their own communities, although there's still that level of apprehension. But going outside of their own community, I think people are, I can definitely speak for myself, think twice where and what and how we do that. And I think that's, I think it's rather sad situation. And as I said, schools, a small number of schools closed last week on Friday. Although the advice, again, from the Community Security Trust was that there was no specific threat. I also attended a number of meetings, both in Essex and in London with the Met. And there's no specific threats to the community. But having said that, we can all see the pictures which are coming through on the levels of hate which are expressed, whether it's at some of the protests or other incidents. And that just adds to the fear.
What were your thoughts on the Palestine protests in London on Saturday?
So I think there's definitely a time and place for people to protest and support to support what they feel they need supporting. But I don't think there's an excuse for hate, and definitely not the way which it's been shown. The terrorist attacks which happened in Israel, and the many innocent people being butchered, and all those graphic content which some of us may have seen. There's simply no excuse for terrorizing communities locally because of that.
Especially in like the UK society, discussion around Israel, Palestine, and this ongoing conflict at the moment. Do you think that it's become a discussion that's so difficult to have with people? I know personally when I speak to people, they're sometimes a bit afraid to speak about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the two points of view would be good. I think there's many points of views, and even within communities, there are many different nuances, and that's something which I'm not necessarily go into the details. Because as I said, I think that's not the focus now. But there's definitely a lot of hate which has also come out. I think that's not okay. It should be okay to have informed discussions about whatever the conversation is about human rights for different people, about political solutions, ideological discussions, and that's fine. And I wouldn't necessarily personally want to take part of that, because I don't think necessarily it would lead to help greatly. But there's a line which shouldn't be crossed, which has definitely been crossed over the past week in this country, and that's threatening and intimidating behaviour. We can hear the government say very loud and clear that they'll protect and ensure all this doesn't have an effect on the community. But unfortunately, it is impossible to police thousands and thousands of incidents. We've seen protesters having it out against policemen and all that as well, and it's also sad to see. I mean, we talk a lot about tolerance and respect in this country. I think now is the time, really. Are we seeing that, or are we seeing hate coming out? As I said, it baffles, because there was a terrorist attack of unimaginable magnitudes with only innocent people involved with that, and we're getting attacked for it. It just doesn't. I mean, the rise in anti-Semitic hate crimes didn't happen when after the Israelis started responding. It happened before that, and unfortunately, we know it will continue when the response will go on for who knows how long. But it didn't happen. It's important to point out it happened, and it was planned before. It happened when the Jewish communities, the Jewish people were attacked, and that's when people started protesting and attacking people in this country, which it doesn't make sense. I said there's definitely something with conversations people can have, people should have. There's a time and place for that, and there are definitely plenty of informed discussions going on. But when it crosses the line into hate, which I think is just unacceptable, and we have to really take a close look at ourselves within education, within wider society, about how did we arrive at that place where Well, frankly speaking, I'm scared to go in central London in the middle of the day. I don't think that should be the case.
One of the main sort of points for like people who've been out protesting is because, we've seen that Israel's cut off water, electricity, medical supplies, food to Gaza. We've also heard that the Israelis gave around, I think it was around 24 hours for 1.1 million people to be told to move to the south of Gaza. This spice has been called out even by like the chief of the UN. Do you think that people can call out that behaviour?
I think, of course, it's okay to protest. There's an inherent right to protest, and there's a right to disagree. Why I say it's really irrelevant. Why I think it should be fine for people to protest. When it goes over the line into hate, that's when it becomes a serious problem. But I'll just go back to the previous point. There were protests and hate crimes which started before anybody responded to anything, and that's our society problem. Not that people are protesting what Israel is or isn't doing. I think that's a separate issue. And there's plenty of peaceful protesters and mature debates going on. Always has been, and that's the way it should be. It's when it becomes hate, whether it's hate speech, incitement to racial hatred. Online, my God, stuff which I've seen, which is going on online, is just beyond belief, and it shouldn't be acceptable. And it's very hard to police. I know we've raised that with the police, and there's also a question, when does it become just online keyboard warriors, and when does it become actual threat? I mean, I've seen stuff which people have written about the Jewish community in Britain and what they want to do, what they plan to do. Most of it is nonsense, but it's very threatening.
What are the sort of things that people are saying?
Well, people are openly calling, bomb the synagogues and just slaughter them, stuff like that. I mean, horrible stuff. And the way people are saying, we want people, they sympathize with what Hamas has done, and stuff. Just horrible stuff.
As events unfold in Israel and Gaza, do you see the number of hate crimes against Jewish people, especially within your community, rising?
And unfortunately, that's what's happened historically. Every time, every couple of years, something happens. Unfortunately, every time pictures come out of Gaza and sometimes from Israel, it causes a rise in hate crime. Unfortunately, because we're more visible as a community, the greater community, whether it's here, Manchester, or Green, Gateshead, or Essex, we're on the forefront of that, receiving those, which is very, very, very sad. So we can only learn from that and be prepared the best we can. As I said, we have a lot of support, but the more police visible, the better. Also, we want to encourage the community to report incidents, and we spoke to the police about that, and that could only happen if the community's trust is there, and that if they complain about something, if they report something, it will be taken seriously. We will remember those. There was protest cars going through Barnet, a year ago or some time ago, saying horrible things about the Jewish community. It didn't end up with a conviction because of whether it was a lack of evidence or that. And that was out in the open. There was number plates, there was videos, police knew they were coming. So that was really a big knock on the confidence. And when we ask people to report things, it could be a struggle, but we are encouraged by what police are saying, that they will take it seriously, and they are taking it seriously. They're definitely saying that, and we've seen an increase in police patrols in all areas. Having said that, we are, as I said, also relying on those contacts and community lines with the local Muslim community and other interfaith organizations to promote peace, to promote kind messages. And we should never forget that the vast majority of people not just want to live peacefully in this country, but also want to make things better for our friends and neighbors. And it's that small minority of extremist behavior who tend to be violent and in many cases get the headlines. So it's about everybody who can be kind, be nice, and try to promote peace and love between communities. And let's hope that that will have an effect, and we won't see the rise which we always see. But that's just hoping and praying.
Do you think that some sort of resolution or peace agreement will have an impact on different communities here in the UK?
Whatever happens in the Middle East has an impact on us. That's what we see. We're seeing. Shouldn't necessarily be the case, but that's what happens. As a religious person, as religious communities, we pray. We hope that everything is resolved peacefully for everybody. That nobody should suffer. Every death, every pain to every child matters and counts. I think to you and I to come up with a solution, I don't think that's going to happen right here, right now. As I said, and I see people arguing in the streets or wherever it is, even within our community. Now, most of it is just debate. It's good to debate, but people get upset about things, which I don't think these discussions would have fruitful outcomes. As I said, from our end, I try, and our community tries to hope and pray for peace, but also do actions which further that in our local context. I know there's a lot of help and charity going towards Israel and helping the families in need, people who are misplaced, and also the families who are directly affected.
Do you ever find as though you're sort of left with having to explain everything that's going on there? Do you feel like there's people sort of put that onto you? You know, I know I've just been asking questions like that as well. Do you feel like there's sort of a pressure on you as a community?
Of course, yeah. Some people feel that we must have the answers, or that we're accountable. As I said before, there's many different opinions within the Jewish community, even within the strictly Jewish community. There are many different opinions about the state of Israel, about Israel. But those are all separate discussions. I don't see it relevant to this, what's happened now and how we're feeling, and particularly what's happening in Israel. They are separate discussions. But yes, it's definitely the expectation for us to have answers, or even worse, even this sort of responsibility for other people's actions. I definitely don't go around holding all people of Muslim faith responsible for the atrocities which have been done in Israel last week, or for 9/11, or for anything else, and that would be unfair, but also very very arrogant. And as I said, the vast majority of whether it's Muslims, or the vast majority of people in this country, I think understand the difference. It's just a very small minority of extremists take it over the line and to hate and conflate issues, sometimes on purpose, and that's what we should be wary of.
Yeah, and how does that make you feel?
Well, definitely. There's definitely makes people feel nervous. When you are unfairly targeted, especially there's a terrorist attack, and we should feel doubly terrorized, which is unfair. It's just that being feeling targeted for something which you're not responsible for, and have no way to change anything which is going on. It's just simply unfair.
What do you think of the UK government's response in terms of both supporting Jewish communities in the UK and also with Israel?
From a personal point of view, and with a person who has a family here with kids, I think we feel very supported by what the government is saying, and also, as I said, the local police. Having said that, I also feel extremely threatened by the pictures and the videos we've seen of some of the protesters and some of the hate, including the graffiti on the schools today. Children come to school and seeing that is a huge cause for concern. Not something which we expect would happen in this country.
Would you like to have more support? Do you think that more needs to be done in the UK?
I think the police are definitely looking into that. Every bit of support is needed now. Enhanced police presence. I know the government has announced additional funding for communities. They should have a good, together with the security professionals, have a good look at that. I know it's very sad that schools have to become high security campuses in this country. We should look at that at all levels. But from first point of view, that people children in the schools should be safe and feel safe. That's the first and foremost. We should also look at society and how we've reached such a situation where schools have to have, as I said, high security. In this, we should be living in a free and open society where we should be feeling safe and not feel threatened. So I really, really think we should look at that. And I know there's a lot of talk about tolerance and respect. I think the emphasis has been on wrong places, if you ask me, and the wrong So I think we should really have a look at that.